Welcome back to the Human Perspective. I'm Judy Heumann, just returned from 2 weeks in Mexico with my husband and family. Great food, great colors, great music, great fun.
Hola familia en Mexico.
Hola. This month I'm focusing on youth with disabilities. Today's guest is Conchita Hernandez. 4 years ago, a young blind woman started riding on the same bus I was taking every day to work to go to the State Department. After a very few days, I had to find out who she was, knowing that I'm a very shy and reserved person.
Of course.
Here I am trying to figure out how do I get to her to be able to ask her. But nonetheless, I think I did various other things, and I learned that she was an inclusive education teacher for blind students in the Washington, D.C. school system, and that she knew a friend of mine from the National Federation of the Blind. Conchita was born in Mexico and came to the United States when she was 5 years old and lived in California. Welcome, Conchita.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here.
I am too, and you're going to do this for 10 minutes, and time is going to rush by, so I'm thinking maybe we'll have you back again.
Okay.
So maybe could you share with us what your experience growing up with a disability was as an immigrant?
So my parents actually decided to come to the United States because both me and my brother have a disability. And so we came on a visa and we overstayed our visa, so we became undocumented. So we were both.
Why did you overstay your visa?
Because we had a tourist visa, and so you ask for a tourist visa, and at a certain point, if they deny it, you have to leave the country. Mm-hmm. And so my mom realized the services that were available in this country, we were never going to have available to us in Mexico. So they made the difficult decision of staying and overstaying our visa, and that meant, we could never go back. My parents could not see their parents or family for who knows how long. And so growing up with a disability, being undocumented in the public school system was interesting because I didn't know the language. I was just kind of thrown into the system, and my parents didn't know the language. So while, yes, I had an IEP and I had services, they were not adequate. And my parents were like, oh my gosh, she's getting services. They're amazing services. But I was never taught like orientation and mobility or braille or, how to cross the street or daily living skills. So it was definitely kind of this feeling privileged that I am able to get services, but not getting adequate ones.
So now you're doing many, many different things.
Yeah.
One of the things that you're doing is you're getting a PhD in special education. Mm. So maybe you could share with us some of the reasons why you decided to move into the field of special education. Mm. As a disabled woman, as a Latina disabled woman, did that have an influence on this at all?
Yeah, definitely. I think I realized that, we were very low income growing up, undocumented, not speaking the language and all of these intersectionalities that were going on. And when I realized growing up that I didn't get the services that I should have gotten, IDA was alive and well, and the ADA was alive and well, and Section 504, and yet I wasn't getting the adequate services, not because I didn't live here, but because my parents didn't speak the language and didn't know how the system worked. And so I wanted to get into special education in order to help, give access to people that don't. I wanted to be able to reach blind students that were not getting braille in school or orientation and mobility. And reaching out to parents is really a big part of what I do. A lot of times I meet parents who are like, they speak Spanish and they have no idea what their child is going to do. They ask me what's going to happen to them when we die, or, are they ever going to be able to live by themselves? And so being able to reassure parents that your child is going to be totally okay. These are things that are available to you. And because parents don't speak the language, there's a huge lack of information that they're not getting from public schools that is not necessarily done intentionally, but schools are not being intentional in getting those resources to parents.
So when did you begin to identify as a disabled person?
Actually way later in life. So for most of my life, I completely passed, I would say. I didn't tell people I couldn't see. I would not use a cane. People just assumed I they didn't really know what was wrong. One of my friends actually was like, wow, you must be high all the time because you're always squinting and sun bothers you. And I'm like, I'm not high, I just can't see. And so I never identified as a person with a disability because I had a very ableist idea of what that was. And so I was like, oh no, that's them, it's not me. So I first came in contact with the National Federation of the Blind, where I met people that were empowered about their blindness, and I just couldn't believe it. Like, how can you possibly be empowered about something that I've always viewed as so negative? And then that led me to the disability community. And when I realized, like, there's so many people out here who are proud of their disability and are living it and learning about disability history, which you're a part of, and so many awesome people, have done so many things. I was like, this makes sense to me. This is something that I want to be a part of. And I think being Latina definitely helped, because I've always been really proud of being Latina and being Mexican American and my culture and everything. And so when I learned about disability, it was like, oh, it's just like culture, and I can be proud just the same. And sometimes society doesn't view it as a positive, but that doesn't mean inherently it's not. And so it made it easy to transition to feel empowered. And that wasn't until I was like 24.
And do you integrate this when you're talking to families about how you were closeted, so to speak, and why it may be important for them to really encourage their kids and to work with their kids also on identifying?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things that I really try to work with my students and their families is to become empowered about disability. And so, especially when I'm working with Latino families, I make the connection, like, it's great to be empowered on being Latino, and it's also great to be empowered on having a disability, because it makes a world of difference. You can have the skills of, orientation and mobility, daily living skills, but if that isn't followed along with a positive philosophy on disability, then you're not really going to thrive and be able to, be your true self.
How do you feel the Latino community accepts disabled people within the Latino community?
So I feel like it's more of an access. Like, as a disability community, we are failing at reaching out to marginalized groups. So we are not reaching out to low-income, people of color, Latino, Black, because right now, a big part of the disability community are a lot of white faces. And
but
so,
I mean within the Latino
right,
community.
and so because of that, the Latino community is not getting the resources and the information that they need. I mean, I grew up in California, a super progressive state, and I never learned about the disability movement or what resources were available to me. And so my goal is to disseminate that information to the Latino community so they can become empowered, because there is a lot of negative ideas within the Latino community on disability, and it's because we have a lack of access to information.
So tell us a little bit, in the remaining time we have, about the coalition that you've helped set up, the Latino Coalition.
Yeah, so the National Coalition for Latinos with Disabilities, Katie Enriquez is an awesome woman, shout out, who came up with this and kind of brought all of us together, and we're passionate about spreading this movement to the Latino community. And part of that is we're doing a big research study on Latinos with disabilities and how we can better reach them, and we want to Latinos with disabilities to turn out to vote, and Latinos with disabilities to come out as disabled. And so this coalition is really at the forefront of trying to reach out to the Latino community. And you can find us on Facebook and webpage. We have a conference coming up in Berkeley at the Ed Roberts Center on June 16 to 17. So you can register, and we're really passionate about reaching out to the Latino community because it hasn't been happening.
So I'd like to conclude with, did I see you on television in an ad?
You did, yeah. I'm in a commercial for a pharmaceutical company. A lot of blind people have trouble sleeping, and so this prescription helps. It's actually something I struggle with a lot. I have a really hard time sleeping. And so I'm in a commercial, and...
Tell us about it really quickly.
So about how it happened?
Well, just what it was like to do it.
Oh, it was awesome to be out there because it's, 1 second of filming is an hour that you're there redoing everything. So I loved it, and I, hope to do it again sometime, I guess.
Well,
and representation, I guess, because there isn't a lot of representation of people with disabilities in media, and so that's really important to me as well.
Well, I hope that you've enjoyed listening to Conchita today. for me, you know, what I really love about being her friend is her diversity and her intersectionality, as we discussed it, because she touches so many things. So please give us your comments. I'd like to let you know that next, the end of June, we're going to be doing another Facebook Live with Carrie Gray. I think you'll find her really exciting.
Yeah.
She's a young African-American disabled woman who is working with the United States Business Leadership Network and also doing work in the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah.
Please don't forget to share this video. Also follow me on Facebook and Twitter as we continue to highlight disabled youth from around the world this month. Thank you again, and thanks so much,
Thank you
Conchita.
so much, Judy.